Our supreme leader has given the order to execute the traitor. So many of the North Korean news programs begin, and coincidentally in the interviews only comments of approval for the supreme leader's decision. The man you see in the picture was accused of applauding Kim Jong-un but without enthusiasm, and therefore suspected of conspiracy and attempted coup, while some people were arrested and hacked to pieces because they didn't cry enough at Kim Jong-il's funeral. North Korea is a collective mind. No one has responsibilities that have not been granted to them through total submission to the party. The only way to survive is to show that you agree with the initiatives of the supreme leader, and to obtain even a semblance of dignity in the eyes of the majority of the population. You have to live convinced of it. If a North Korean tried even by mistake to express one of the concepts present in this video article, he would be denounced for two reasons. The first is the fear of being accused and shot for not fulfilling one's duty of faith to the party, and the second because by denouncing the transgressor, one obtains merit. If you put 3 monkeys in a cage and you slap only one of the 3 but then you also give them a banana, then the other 2 monkeys will position themselves to have the slap too, which leads to the banana. You can repeat the experiment as many times as you want. What matters for the monkey is not the deprivation of dignity and total submission, but the prize. Of course, with a monkey is simple, because it does not have a prefrontal cortex so complex as to contain the use of reason. If you want to do this with humans, you have to repeat the experiment for days, maybe months, and here we come to North Korea, a place where for X years, Kim Jong-un orders murders and executions. In no particular order, the murder of the defense minister shot by 24 men because he had fallen asleep during Kim Jong-un's passage to the annual parade. During the elections, only Kim Jong-un could be voted, as no other candidates were allowed, and those who voted no must do so from a booth dedicated to no. The law requires those who vote no for Kim Jong-un, they must be questioned, detained, monitored and searched. Someone answered no and we do not know where that someone ended up. 100% of the money that goes into the government's coffers is used for armaments, nuclear tests, the Kim family's capital, soldiers' salaries, the supreme leader's private collection of cars and tanks, dozens of servants and bodyguards, an endless collection of Rolex watches, multi-thousand-dollar bottles of cognac, supplies of the highest quality for the preparations of its personal chefs, supplies that affect the head of the poor and hungry country for several millions, $52 million for perfumes, $47 million in furs and clothing. The budget of the North Korean state allocates 20% of the total to take care of the supreme leader's collection of horses, and about $2 billion to have the high technology. In the rest of the country, 2 out of 5 North Koreans are malnourished, 4 out of 5 live only on humanitarian aid. If Kim's laws are not respected, humanitarian aid is also deprived. Anyone who accepts food or money from the West without the approval of the police is sentenced to death. At the age of 15 in North Korea you are obliged to attend the execution, and most of the time you have to witness the shooting of a friend, spouse, child or neighbor. Kim Jong-un approves of child labor. If a child comes from a poor family he is destined to work for the regime. This girl who escaped after seeing her parents exterminated crossed the river to try to get to South Korea. Nothing more will be heard of her. The man who managed to ask her a few questions spoke of frightened faces as if they had crossed a specter. They had seen death with their eyes. Thousands of people have died during escape attempts. Kim Jong-un was brought up from an early age to believe that the Kim dynasty is vested with a divine mandate and therefore holds absolute authority over life and death. According to some testimonies of people who managed to escape from North Korea, the first and most centered subject of study at school is the Kim dynasty and their ideology, the one who saved the nation and to whom obedience is owed. North Koreans are indoctrinated from an early age into thinking that poverty is the devil and the devil is the United States. In this country there is a constant competition to see who is more submissive to the party, hopefully for a better job than the police. or access to basic services such as electricity. In North Korea there is no information about what their president really does. Any news would be labeled as rumors of the rebels, and to tell the truth only since the 90s have information begun to leak to the West. On the other hand, a North Korean lives in limbo. His heart would stop if only he found out what he has been denied since birth. And it made me think when a tourist who mistakenly turned to a North Korean to ask where he could find electricity, and in response received, "What is electricity?" On this question the police immediately removed the two men who were talking to prevent the Korean from perceiving anything else. Too often people don't even realize that they are just batteries of a disposable society. The mortality rate to favor Kim's empire is extremely high. No Korean can choose for himself what job to do. Most of the time these people are sent to chemical factories. The purifiers are dilapidated and the continuous breathing of the fumes of chemical agents kill people, every single day. In total diplomatic immunity, Kim orders the elimination of individuals, groups and families. Every North Korean needs a permit to move from one city to another, and it is difficult to obtain. Traveling abroad is prohibited, and on the whole, even the simple act of living seems to be prohibited. However, there is a widespread mentality here in the West that North Korea's problems do not concern us, yet we make use of them. The leader of the free world shakes hands with Kim Jong-un during a diplomatic negotiation. Italy has been doing business with this dictatorship since the year 2000, Germany ditto. Russia buys missiles and tanks from North Korea, and China accepts North Korean workers at zero wages. The wages of their work are deposited with the state that takes care of their needs but leaves them nothing more. You look at an article of this type, and you think that it still does not concern you, but little by little, the administrations of the world align themselves and you can see this with your own eyes, and throughout history pieces of freedom have been taken away. The COVID control experiment has decreed how many would rebel against the deprivation of freedom, and examples of the mutilation of freedom have occurred on every single continent, little by little without realizing it. We pity the North Koreans, and we head in the same direction. From Chronicle, that's all.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. 'Cause I've been blasting and laughing for so long that eating my mama things on my mind goes on. And I ain't never crossed a man who didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's a